Today's session in particular, before we go ahead, I'd like to introduce myself and give a small brief about what I do. So my name is Abbas Sheikh, and I am a digital marketing consultant and a social media strategist for a lot of brands and startups, especially in the field of edutech and FMCG products. I also have a social media management firm that handles and manages social media accounts for clients and brands, and basically handles all of their messaging, understanding what is right for them, what persona they should be representing in front of a brand, what are the ideas and strategies they implement, and what is the ROI they get on each of those strategies. That is basically what we do here at Business Spectra. And with this small brief, I would like to start today's session, and everybody can chime in and ask questions as we go along. So let's get started. And like the topic says, today we are going to speak about how we are supposed to get started with Facebook and Instagram ads, and what do we need to understand in the very beginning of any ad campaign that you manage. So before we get started, here's a quick look at. So if you see over here, there are some key components to every ad campaign or every ad management tool that you use. Before you go to anything beyond what you're currently doing, that is either an organic reach or something of that sort, you first need to understand what are your core points. What do you need to focus on? What percentage of your energy you are supposed to put in any part of it. Now, there are various aspects such as you need to understand the core marketing fundamentals at least to 50% of what you're doing. That's where your energy should be going. 50% of your energy should be focused on understanding the basic marketing fundamentals. Now, I could go on and on about what these fundamentals are, but we'll keep moving ahead and we'll keep asking questions so we can keep up with the pace. And there are various other things such as SEO and SEM. If anybody's aware about what SEO and SEM means, it's basically search engine optimization and search engine marketing. Basically, marketing a product on search engines is what I'd like to put it as. And there are various other tools such as analytical tools that you use to understand data on marketing fronts. Then you need to plan your social media campaigns. Your creative and copy is equally important, and also how you monetize what you do. So you are supposed to be able to monetize the kind of content you put out and the return you get on it. So on a basic level, this is what any marketer or any brand would like to do with their brand. Next, when we come to an objective basis for an ad campaign, there are a couple of things we look into the most. Number one being increased traffic. Every brand wants to increase traffic. I'm sure there are a lot of us who just need to see those numbers come in of 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 for that matter, or even more. And those translating into increase in sales. And eventually hoping that these people keep seeing us again and again. And there's a brand recall that's built with it. Eventually, which will turn out to be building a community, a whole group of people that spread a good word of mouth about your brand and become your brand evangelists. So this is ideally a funnel of a sort that any brand would aim to look at and aim to achieve, trying to bring together all these four aspects and build a strong, steady online presence for itself. Now, how do you translate all of these things on paper? How do you make sure you're getting what you need from all of these objectives? There are various ways to go about with it. First of all, you can work on the organic side of any brand. Now, organic online presence seems like an easy bet, but it is a long haul. It takes years to build the right presence for your brand. Some brands that go viral may be able to do it quicker, but it's still a process. There is no formula to go viral. You have to be able to be consistent, though the term may seem very magnanimous, but it has and holds value even today. Consistency online can bring a lot of value to your brand. And that's what every marketer worth his salt or her salt would preach to you. Consistency and the quality content that you put out is what every marketer or every individual online would aim to look at. Now, how do you translate all of these things into something that's more inorganic in nature. Organic is always something we can do. We know what's right and what has to go out there. But do we know the tools that are out there to get inorganic reach set right? Do we know how to amplify the content that we have and reach out to more people? Do we know how to target? These are things that we're trying to solve today in this session, and let's get into it. So the ad samples you see in front of you now are from Facebook, basically. So if you see the first ad sample, it shows about something that you do to launch your website today, and it says shop now. That's a call to action you use normally for shopping. Now, if you understood recently in a couple of weeks and the last few months, Facebook has aggressively been promoting various types of ad formats and the whole idea of integrating one platform with another. So it's not just about involving Facebook and sending out ads on Instagram, but the message over here is that Facebook wants to make it seamless. Facebook wants to connect the Facebook Messenger platform with the Facebook ads, the Instagram DMs, and WhatsApp Messenger as well. So eventually you look at something that's a lot more interactive in nature. All the ads would be very crisp and clear, and they would probably hold even lesser text than they do today, because we've transitioned from a lot of content formats. Even first, when we started on ads, we were a text-based ad system, and now we've moved on to images and then videos, and now we've moved on to something called AR. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have used AR in our day-to-day lives. And if you see the right side of the creative, you will see something called Play Now. This is Facebook's latest gimmick to try and bring engagement to their platforms. So suppose you have a game and you want to launch an ad for it. What is the best way to tell people that your game's amazing or what your game exactly does? No image or no video can justify that, right? So Facebook's interactive options allow you to use Play Now as an option to upload a mini version of your game to Facebook, which you can use to play a game while you are on Facebook. And this is basically Facebook's way of telling you to, hey, don't leave our platform, stay here, use Facebook, understand the experience of the app you're about to download, and then once you've trusted it, once you know this is what you need, you can always go ahead. Now, these features not only apply to anybody who holds an app for a game that needs to be promoted, this can also be used for somebody who has something. For example, Ola had a ad campaign where they would provide a gamification option for people on their ad. All you had to do is you had to say select Play Now, and you could probably ride a car across a region that had obstacles. So this is called gamification, is how you indulge audiences and create engagement so that you build a certain amount of trust and some amount of credibility. This is a few of what examples are out there, and here you can see in a similar way, it's something that you do to learn more every time you hit on an ad. For example, if you wanted to get leads for your brand, all you have to do is send out an ad that says learn more or sign up, and you either redirect them to the landing page of your website, or all you can do is set up an internal system on Facebook Ads Manager itself, where all you got to do is put up a form, select the fields that you need to address, that is contact information, name, any sort of details that you need from your client or potential leads, and Instagram will handle the rest for you, and so will Facebook. And these ads will be out there. And you can probably find something called a leads manager on Facebook itself that allows you to go through all of these leads, sort them out based on their interest level, their priority, the time that they entered for opt-in, and various other concepts. So this is more complex in nature, but once you get started, it's always easy. We'll have a run through of what Ads Manager looks like, but let's go through some fundamentals. Now, if I had to speak about any brand, a couple of fundamentals that I always look at is brand personality, goals and objectives of the brand, social media channels, and the customer journey map that the brand looks at. Let's get started with the first one, that is a brand personality. The story, the persona, the messaging a brand looks at is very important. What do you want your brand to represent? When you speak out there as a third person, what are you trying to put forth? What is your personality? Is it sarcastic? Is it being witty? Is it having a lot of humor? Are you a teenager? What does your brand represent? I am not speaking about the person running the brand, nor those people who run those accounts. I'm speaking about what the brand represents. What is the ideal personality that you want to put out as a brand? Are you a wise person who speaks good about society? Various other things. For example, if you speak about Netflix, Netflix has a lot of wit and humor in its messaging, and most millennials relate to these things. This is what a brand does to come across right to its audience, that is its target audience, to relate and show context to what it actually is and what it believes in, and the kind of content it puts out over there. That's one side of it. And the next one is the goals and objectives. You may have a larger goal for your brand, but there are also other goals, such as the goals you hold for every campaign that you put out. Like if you remember the first or initial two slides, you'll remember the types of objectives you can have. You can have an increase in traffic, increase in brand awareness, reach or visibility, increase in sales, and or build a community. That has become very important in the past few years, especially. And then we have social media channels. Understand the channels that you are focused towards, the ones that matter to you the most, and then work on those. Find out where your audience resides. Also understand about the customer journey map that you have. Try and understand the different points where your customer can meet you, and the places where you can tap into. What does this viability look like to you? Can you reach out to them on every point? Now if you see over here, there are a range of things that happen, starting from awareness, findability, reputation, conversion, to advocacy. And this is a modern map of a sort. If you had to see maps that existed prior to 5 years ago, it was a lot less complex because there were minimal touch points a brand could use to reach out to its customer or its audience. But today, from the very beginning, to create awareness, you have a ton of options that can be used. Now, you may need not necessarily use all of them, but you got to figure out where your audience resides and then work your way up to it. So if I had to recommend something, I'd ideally say first build your content, build your story on your platform. It has to be organic first. For the first 6 months when you start out a brand, do not rely on ads. You will burn out if you do not know what you are doing. So you got to start with a good organic story, build heavy content, build a good brand, build a good persona, engage with your audience. It's tough work. It's hard work, but you got to do it. And that would be your first initial 5 to 6 months working with your brand. Eventually start investing in. So when you do the first bit, you also got to make sure your presence is everywhere. For example, you got to be on Google, you got to be on other platforms as well, other directories. So when people look up for you on any platform, they do not go to your competitor, they come to you. And despite of having checked your profile out, if they go to somebody else, that's all right, but you got to be out there. The first person that they come to should be you, not your competitor. Now we go on to something called findability. This is the search option where generally Google plays a very heavy role, as most search engines do. There's organic search, there's PPC, maps, and these are all details we do not need to know about right now. The reputation, that's next, the research part of it. You got to write quality articles like a first quote in the interest and awareness bit. You got to put out good content out there, and this will act as an add-on to your reputation as well. And how do you make sure? This is where we come in as people who understand the ads manager and inorganic reach. Purchase bit is where we are working towards the conversion bit. We try and get people to come to our website, check out online booking options, purchase via the app, go to the store and purchase, talk to the salesperson, create marketing collaterals that they can use and interact with. These are things we do on a regular basis. And next comes what they give you back. They give you a review, a blog, some word of mouth. All of these things are a part of a modern customer journey. If you see over here, we've quickly switched over to the ads manager. And I'm sure anybody who's interested in knowing more about the ads manager has already looked up what it looks like from inside. But I'll give you a small brief about what each of these things mean. So starting off, it's quite simple. You got to put a campaign name for whatever test you have or whatever ad you're running. You got to choose a buying type. Mainly it's only auction because you're bidding. Then there's a campaign objective, and you got to find out from a list of objectives what's the right one that you need. That could be lead generation, sign-ups, traffic, brand awareness, consideration, a lot of other things, around 10 to 12 options, and you got to choose the right one for you. And based on what you need, Facebook will optimize the ad and reach out to those people that are most likely. For example, you need leads, and you say the campaign objective to being lead generation. So Facebook will reach out to those people that are most likely to use this ad and click on lead generation on the learn more option and submit their information, because Facebook knows behaviors a lot better than any marketer does. Marketers mainly facilitate these things, try and feed the right information, the things that we are looking for that matter, even a brand. And Facebook does the work for you. As far as understanding the tool is concerned, this is what you need to know at the topmost priority. Understand the objectives first. Beyond that, you also got to look at something called an A/B test option. Initially, we should try and avoid it. If you do not have a large spending capacity, try and not look at an A/B testing. But if I had to explain what A/B testing does, it provides you an option of using one ad creative that is similar in a way for A and B, and then using maybe a different header. For example, one header says, hey, sign up now and you'll get a free ebook. And the next header says, we are trying to build a community for you. Could be completely different headers. And now these become variables that Facebook allows you to test. So when you send these ads out, Facebook will send these ads to two different groups of people with the same interests and same behavior. And you will be able to identify which of these ads works best. And that allows you to understand if the first header resonated with people more or the second header did. So that allows you to choose the winner amongst these and then spend more money on the one that won. So that allows you to get a better conversion rate and a better return on your investment as well. And always choose for campaign budget optimization if you are new to this, so that Facebook does its best at building the right audience and using the budget in the right way. Now, if you see the hierarchy over here, there are a couple of things you need to notice. The first one goes create new campaign. The campaign is the queen of all. You got to create the campaign first. And within the campaign, you can create multiple ad sets. For example, if your objective was to sell a product, maybe a phone of a sort, and now we're trying to run three different ads for three different objectives. The first objective could be just generating traffic, getting them to your website to view the product. The next one could be engaging with your product in some way, maybe using some tool that allows you to understand if the product is meant for you. And the third one could be just purchases, direct signups or sales. So you could run three different ad sets with three different objectives again, and then create a new ad for each of these ad sets. And then you can further create multiple ads in it. So the permutations of the number of ads you can create are immense. And this is what it basically looks like in the beginning. And we will go on to the next bit. Over here, you see all of those tools that I mentioned, all of the objectives that I mentioned, from awareness, consideration to conversion. These are brand awareness, reach, engagement, app installs, video views, lead generation, etc. And also something called conversions, catalog sales, and store traffic. We've understood what the ads manager primarily does, but we now have something that is a lot more important as far as running ads is concerned. Most people ignore these aspects. You got to understand something called Instagram statistics and analytics. Go to Instagram business page, check out insights, know what the audience is like over there. Once you've built the content for the first 6 months, this is why I emphasized on the fact that you got to build your content for the first 6 months, tell your story, and then go ahead. So once you've done that, you will see this good data over here. Even on Facebook insights, you'll find a good amount of data that explains what your audience looks like and if they resonate with your content. And based on this, you will know the kind of targeting you're supposed to do on your ads manager as well. Now, we cannot go in the details of how to use an ads manager, but I'll try and cover as much as possible. This should help you understand on what targeting you can do. So once you go into ads manager, it's pretty simple in understanding what options you got to choose. But how do you know what's the right target audience? You don't, and it's very difficult. It differs from every brand to brand. And we would like to use something called Instagram analytics to understand what is the right ad set for you or the right audience for you. Now, coming towards the end of this whole session, uh, there is very little that we can cramp into one session about Instagram Ads Manager. But if I had to give quick tips on how to get your campaign boost done, how to reach out to more people in the fastest way possible, you have a range of campaigns that you can conduct. Facebook has recently been very aggressive in promoting its community building activities. It wants people to go live. It wants people to interact with its audience during live sessions at all times and not lose out on that engagement. The purpose is to get more people on these platforms. And this always benefits you as a brand as well. So try and make sure you do a lot of Facebook and Instagram lives. It may not be always, but it has to be regular and consistent. If you once start, keep going with it, do not stop. Create value added content, make sure your audience learns something every time they come to your platform. Also build podcasts. Now it may seem like a bit of a stretch to build a podcast for your brand, especially when you do not have the time to contribute to the content for the podcast. So what you got to do is you can move into a webinar. Start webinars for your audiences. Do not aim to do or sell anything or promote anything about your brand. That's not the purpose of any webinar. As a brand, you got to make sure your audience learns something. Build a webinar, create content out of it, use the content you build for the webinar to build a podcast around it. It's as simple as that. If you break your content, you can build multiple pieces and reuse it for a different set of audience. So those that watch your webinars may not be the ones that watch your podcast or hear your podcast. That is simply because the audience differs from time to time. So you gotta make sure you do your best to reach out to the right audience with the right content. Then there's something called Insta Pause. Insta Pause is where you create huge amounts of DM groups with the right audience to try and mock Instagram's algorithm, if I had to say it that way. For a lack of a better word, you gotta try and use that to build strong organic reach with your audience. Try and reach out to the right people. Read more about it online. It'll probably give you a better brief and understanding of how those things work, but it's a powerful tool. You can also use Twitter chats, and Twitter chats is a lot more complex in nature, but the reach is immense. If you are on Twitter, you have to use this. Create a thread, add a speaker to the thread, let the speaker answer questions for your audience, and post about it, promote it, let people be there, use a particular hashtag to be a part of the thread. All of these things will add to your value as a brand. You got to do this regularly as well. And like I said, Facebook Live, podcasts, webinars, the content is almost similar. You got to be able to deconstruct the whole thing. So that's about it, guys, for today. I think we've covered a good amount of organic reach as well as the first couple pages of an ads manager and what the objectives look like. I look forward to sharing more content with y'all and helping y'all understand what brands do and add more value as far as the audience base is concerned. You got to be able to do the right thing for your audience. So if there's any questions, we'll take it. And if not, we'll close the session for today. Is there any questions? All right. Um, how to create a perfect ad for a business? What is the main trick? So Raghav Singh, this is the question from Raghav Singh. I'd like to say that to create the perfect ad for a business, you have to understand what your objective is. When you understand what the objective is, for example, if your objective is to clearly get signups for your maybe beta test for your product, a software product, something of that sort, you got to make sure you create the right landing page to send people to. Your landing page has to be very crisp. It has to have one block that says, hey, submit your information and get access to our free tool. That's one part of it. And what do you do with the ad? With the ad, you got to create value added content. The copy has to be very sharp and precise. There has to be minimal text on the ad. Facebook has a rule of only 20% text on any ad, and the rest has to be an image. So you got to make sure you adhere to these rules to reach the most amount of audience. And also, like I said, understand your Facebook and Instagram insights and then build your audience behaviors based on that. You will know what audience to target specifically. That should help you. All right. The next question should be, how do we know that we have set the right budget parameters? So Shivani, you will know when you set the right budget parameters when you've seen the reach on the right side corner of an ads manager. You will be able to understand how much maybe ₹1,000 budget per day could give you as far as reach is concerned, and as far as whatever your objective is. If your objective is to generate leads, ₹1,000 budget may give you around 500 to 1,000 people. That is a reach, and would give you probably just 10 or 20 leads. And does that solve your question? Does that solve your query? Does that give you the right number of leads that you need per day, or do you need to spend more money? This you will only be able to gauge once you've run an ad for approximately a week or two. Since Facebook takes time to understand your ad better, the more money you spend on Facebook Ads Manager, the better it gets. Initially, your leads would cost you a lot. It will cost you probably 20 to 30 rupees or 40 or 50 rupees per lead. But then it will eventually go down to 20 or 10 rupees. So I think we've solved all questions for today, and we'll end this session here. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining, and have a great day.